Well, hello, everybody. I hope you're doing wonderful. I know we'd be doing a little better if the market was acting okay for us, but it's all good. I got a cup of coffee. Everyone, get your coffee, get you a drink. It's going to be a good one. We're going to be reviewing the best altcoins, guys. You know that the money is not made when you sell. Like I always say, it's made when you buy. And there is, bad times in the market. Everybody thinks crypto's over, so we're going to yesterday we got into the top 50. We're going to do a quick review over those as well. We're going to go over what I seen yesterday, what I liked, what I didn't, a trade I just personally took on for BTC and why. But before we get started, remember, I am not a financial advisor. None of this is ever financial advice. And always do your own research, guys. Before we get into it, please, if you like the content, if you're watching on YouTube, give me a subscribe there, hit the bell notification. And if you're over on X, make sure to follow us there as well. We appreciate all the support. And I just want to say shout out to our channel sponsor, Blofin. There is this campaign going on right now. Everyone can join. There will be a link in the description if interested. It's also on my page as well. But the market, look at this. The market. I took a small trade. And like I said, I'm not advising anyone to do this, just what I'm doing. But we haven't been able to hold anything. Obviously, BTC is looking extremely weak. These are very, very, very small, positions overall. And, very tight stop losses, things like that. But this is over on my Blofin account. But guys, I hope everyone's doing wonderful. Hi, Freeman from Norway. Let me know where all y'all are from. Let me know. I'd love to know where people are from. And so I want to get into BTC a little bit before we break down some of the altcoins that we went over yesterday and then the ones we're going to get into today. If there's something you want to deep dive on a little more specifically, make sure to let me know down below. That's good. You know what I could have? I could have a sponsor from, who is this? This is a Yeti cup, but I would also take Nespresso. If anyone has a contact at Nespresso, this is a great cup of coffee. Wow, big one. Let's go, man. Thank you. Thank you very much for the super chat. Could you make a top 10 interesting coins? Yeah, we sure could. Yeah, we could go over that. We could make a specific live stream potentially about maybe tomorrow for, my top 10 if I had to bundle up everything into a, top 10 portfolio kind of thing. Obviously, it's just, opinion based and things like that. But yeah, so my thesis of everything of this little trade that I took and everything, like I said, this is very low risk and that's relative to everyone, right? But I made this post back January 16th. And I'm seeing multiple people share this trend line, but at the time nobody was sharing this trend line, right? Nobody likes a bear, but I just try to be honest. There's this trend line on BTC, and I'll probably show this every stream, going to from $1,600, okay, on BTC. And you could see that it held a lot. It's held very, very good over the time. And so where this meets is, if you take a look, this meets at the 200-week simple moving average. Okay, I like SMA over EMA. We could get into that another time. But it meets with that. It also meets with this trend line. It also meets with sweeping the previous cycle's high, as well as about the average cost to mine a Bitcoin. Remember, guys, Bitcoin is proof of work technology, so there's actual computing power behind it, okay? And so this is kind of where I think we're going to end up, somewhere around this. Like I said, I could be completely wrong. My crystal water bottle ain't telling me the truth. But, we are oversold, like just as far as technicals. If we come to look at RSI, that we can, let's come over here so we can get like a long-term chart. If we just look at RSI, let's go 24 hours. We might have to open up Trading View. Dang it. Okay, we can do that. No problem. But if we look, we're at some pretty low levels. I posted this yesterday over on X as well, that we're at very, very low levels. So this is at the daily. And if we kind of zoom in here, you can see I put this green line down here on RSI. And even though this, stream is going to be related to altcoins, it's, we all know that everything follows Bitcoin, right? That's the way this market works for now. And so we're at a level. And so does that mean anything? No, not necessarily. But I'm thinking that we could potentially get a relief rally, and that's how I'm potentially trading. Already up 3% on this trade. We'll see how it goes. How I like to do these is this wasn't a huge trade. It's about 0.3 BTC total. But how I like to do these is, now that it's coming up a little bit, I like to move this up, a little bit more. And then eventually, if it goes up even more, move it up to break even, then eventually move it up to profit, but we just have to see how it goes. But my thesis behind it, when looking at kind of the short term, was I like to look at this liquidity. This is coin glass right here. And what this will tell us is where liquidation levels are at. And so there was at this right under 74, there was a pretty, not yellow, but kind of like this color right here. And what this is telling us is liquidity pockets. And you can see there's really not much liquidity underneath. I mean, 71.6 maybe. Like, what did we hit earlier? We hit 72.1. So potentially, it could grab this. But this liquidity, if you look at this at 77, that looks a lot more appetizing, right? If you were somebody that moved markets, like a market maker or a whale, this is appetizing, right? And then even this up here, 23M, 28M, trying to get up to this level right here, 79.80. And so it's simply a trade, not thinking that the bottom's in or anything. And like I said, do not do what I do. It's not financial advice. I'm just a random dude on YouTube drinking espresso, trying to trade and educate the population. But guys, we went over the top 50 altcoins. And like I said, I hope y'all are all having a wonderful day. Oh, here's my sidekick right there, Crypto Empress. Here's my wife. Wifey reposted the stream. Yeah, guys, give the stream a retweet, whether you're on X, whether you're on YouTube. When Moon, she said she's been DCAing all the way down. She must not follow Finance Freeman, who posted this at 95K. But I hope we're due for a relief rally. I was just explaining this liquidity, how we took out this liquidity, and there's some appetizing liquidity up above. But that's Bitcoin. There's a lot of FUD going on right now with Bitcoin, guys. Let's go take a look at that before we get into these altcoins. I think it's very interesting, to say the least. We've all seen this video, I think. But this was out recently, and there's a lot of stuff in those files, you know what I'm talking about, that are linking, him to BTC early days. Personally, I think it's overblown. I don't think it's, like the biggest thing I seen was that he had invested 1/36th of a funding round for, one of the scaling solutions. And so I don't know. I kind of think it's a nothing burger, but they definitely might use it, as a reason to FUD, right? But we'll see. But with that FUD, will probably bring down, altcoins potentially. And if it brings down altcoins potentially, then it could, some are going to be, what I perceive as a good value. Other ones, as we said yesterday, are no good, right? Going to absolutely nada. But we got to see what that is. So just a little highlight over what we went over in yesterday's stream, if you missed it, for the top 50 was, Tron. Really don't see a use case for Tron. You know what I mean? Bitcoin Cash and stuff like that. They are forks, but why do we need them? This Uniseed Leo, it's got to be the absolute worst name in all of crypto. Like, seriously, if somebody here even knows somebody who has ever heard of this thing, let me know. Because I haven't met one person that likes this thing, knows what it is, knows even somebody that's heard of it before, and it's sitting at an $8 billion market cap. I mean, come on, what is it? Send it, And so But then when it started getting interesting, as we go down. Shiba Inu is one that, sorry, Empress, probably won't come back. New all-time highs, but there's a lot of good stuff in the top 50. But whenever we start getting into this right here, when we start getting into 51 through 100, we've got to remember this is like Silicon Valley, right? That's where we're sitting, Silicon Valley, pretty much. And so whenever we take a look at that, we have to know that the risk curve definitely goes up as we go there. But with that being said, that's also where the opportunities are. Like what's the chance, ETH goes to like a crazy level one day, maybe, but for most it's not, life-changing potential gains and what I'm looking for. So I'm really interested. Let's say hi to some more people. DJ Nello, what's up, man? Cannot express how jazzed I am about this market. Have been waiting for this since 2018. What about like 20, a few years ago? Was it what were you accumulating anything back then? I'm just curious. Let's see. Life-changing entry and moment to accumulate. I hope this lasts a year. I hope it don't last a whole year, but traditional BTC bottoms within about a year, which would put a September, October timeframe, and so I'm sorry, I'm just kind of keeping a little eye on this trade. So you see, what I want to do personally is I'm going to move my stop loss to break even. And worst case, I lose no money, right? So that's how I like to do that. But like I said, not financial advice. Let's see. I didn't have spare cash to invest. I totally understand. I have been there before, right? I knew about Bitcoin when it was $1,000. I just didn't have $1,000 to my name back then. But there's a lot that I like down here, and I'm a kind of guy that I have a big risk appetite. Whenever I'm at the casino, I'm a risky fish, to say the least. I'm a guy that likes a lot of risk, but I'm a guy that likes technology, and I believe that cryptocurrency is going to change the world. I believe that we're going to be on chain, all financial assets initially, but everything pretty much, and so I am looking at a lot of things in here. And like I said, I hope y'all are having an absolute wonderful day. Make sure to retweet, share it, send it to a buddy, send it to somebody that might possibly know what Eunice C. Leo is. Good old water. Absolutely love it. So let's see how this is looking right there. Yeah. Okay. Zoom in on this. Keep an eye on it, but we'll see. We will see. But anyways, coming over here, 51, we start off pretty good up here. We're looking at Ondo. And Ondo is one that I think is a very good example of the valuation issue that we have in cryptocurrency. And the reason I say that is because obviously there is a company behind Ondo, and they're tokenizing a lot of stocks. You've seen they tokenize like 100 stocks on Solana, right? However, what does that do to the price of Ondo? Like if we really take a look at this, go to the weekly, they have tokenized more assets in this time frame than they like ever have, and the token's down. And so that's this valuation problem that we have in crypto, is how does this underlying company and the token tie together? When you take a look at, like I use this example all the time just because a lot of people are knowledgeable on it. But if you take a look at like Pump Fund, they launched a coin, right? It had a multi-billion-dollar market cap at one point. But what happens if Pump Fund, the platform, sold for a lot of money? Let's just say it did really good and sold. Well, what would that do to the token? Would it do anything to the token? Is there any real correlation? What is governance? What is governance in a token? Do people care what governance is in a token? I don't know. And so that's the valuation problem that we have. But one of the most underrated narratives, in my personal opinion, is going to be real world asset tokenization. And it's just because it just makes too much sense, especially when I start looking at real estate, when you start looking at stocks. why would it, like I said yesterday, why would I have to go to a bank and get a HELOC loan and take a month to get this and everything? Why couldn't that be tokenized? Why couldn't it be completely transparent on chain, And so there's a lot of good things about it. You kind of have to be a little, weary when you see something that the top 10 hold 74% of the tokens, that seems pretty concentrated, but it's probably a foundation or something. Ondo is something I have invested in before personally, but it's one that I do like. It's one that I do like, and I think that the overall real world asset narrative, stocks, everything associated is going to be great. So just keep an eye on that trade. But that's a good one, And then we come over here. I'm kind of over exchange tokens, even a lot of DEX tokens besides Hyperliquid. So Qcoin is one that, I could definitely live without it, But then coming over to Polygon, this was really the first layer 2 built on Ethereum that I ever, was interested in. There was a lot of talk on all of these like partnerships that they had. They kind of rebranded to Pol from Poly or whatever it used to be. But something interesting is this right here. Due to market conditions, we now identify as a side chain. And so whenever you look at this, Vitalik Buterin released something yesterday, and I wonder what my Kaspa folks have to think about this, because when we get to Kaspa, we're going to talk about it. But basically saying that layer 2 scaling solutions, which is what layer 2s were always thought to be, are no longer needed. And it's a really interesting thing because you've seen entire ecosystems built out, entire business models built out around this idea that, layer 2 scaling solutions can be an entire ecosystem. Okay. They can be, base chain built by Coinbase was built off of Ethereum using layer 2. And so for Vitalik to come out and say that they're no longer needed, and not that they're no longer needed, but that in the sense that they were made, they're no longer needed, basically. He's saying the vision no longer makes sense. L1 does not need L2s to be branded shards because L1 is itself scaling, and L2s are not able or willing to satisfy the properties that a true branded shard would require. I've even seen at least one explicitly saying that they may never want to go beyond that. So it's very interesting for me to see what's going on with layer 2 scaling solutions, what's going to happen. And so just personally for me, it's not one that I would get into, even though I do like it. I do like it, but it's one. This is one I want to dive into. Because if we take a look at this, this is going back to, let's see, when was this bad boy launched? If we can scroll down, when is this chart? Going back to 2023, it's not one that I've ever been in. I mean, it's down massively. Gosh, it makes my Kaspa bags look good. What is this? 95%. What's the insider allocation on that bad boy? Oh, wow. Imagine that. Okay. Oh, that's community. I wonder if that means public, if that's just their way to say that. Yeah, because they have the unlock schedule. But you could just see, I mean, look at this. Like, when you look, 5% was unlocked today, 45% unlocked. So just in the first 2 years, it was a huge amount of tokens that were unlocked. What does this actually do? Let's take a look at that. If you're into one of these that I'm not familiar with, let me know, and we'll take a deeper dive and would love to be educated on it. What is WorldCoin? The mission of WorldCoin is to build the world's largest identity and financial network as a public utility. Public utility would mean that, like, you can't make money on it, right? Like that it's not really like when something's utility, when you think about water, when you think about, it's a really weird wording. Universal proof of human. Oh, that's cool. Finance and connection for every human. I don't know. This is one that I'll definitely take a deeper look at. Like I said, if anyone is into this or knows it, because, these things are common, honestly. I mean, if you see price dip so much, like you can go look at basically all your favorite coins, and they've all had stuff like this. And there's going to be coins next cycle. I don't know what those are. Hopefully, I find it, but that we don't know what that is. That they come out of nowhere. They come out of the top 200 or something, and they just do absolutely amazing. And it's been around for 3 years, right? So that's one I'll definitely look into. I can't give it a yay for me or a nay at the moment. Honestly, now I'm not in it, but let's go take a look here. Athena right here. We're gonna have a lot of research in this because I'm into what I'm into, but what I don't like, I've wrote it off and haven't done a ton of research. What is this one? Athena is a synthetic dollar protocol built on Ethereum. Okay, so it's a layer 2 on Ethereum, or is it on mainnet Ethereum? Athena is a synthetic block protocol built on Ethereum that will provide a crypto native solution for money that is not reliant on traditional banking system and infrastructure, alongside a globally accessible dollar denominated saving instrument, the internet bond. I mean, bonds have done horrible lately. Why would you want to be internet bond? I mean, I understand being internet gold, or internet, stable coins, but this right here is going to be a problem. Traditional banking infrastructure. That's what we have right now. The big thing going on with the Clarity Act is that our industry of cryptocurrency is having basically a big fight with the big banks right now. Right now, you have Brian Armstrong and the people that are representing cryptocurrency, largely at Coinbase. They are wanting stable coin yields because if you look, USDC or something will offer 4 or 5%. I've had 6 figures in a savings account before and had like $100 given to me a month, like 0.001%, like absolutely nothing. And, banks want to be able to do that. There's also another fear that, in the banking system, at least how we know it traditionally, there is what's called fractionalized liquidity, which means if you go give your bank $10, they may be able to lend out $80, $90, $100, just a fraction of what they actually hold in reserves. Whereas with the Genius Act, what was really good about that is that it passed 1-to-1 backing so that everything has to be backed 1-to-1 reserves. And so how stable coins are doing it and how Circle is doing it, they are backing with short-term treasuries, okay? Short-term treasuries, bonds, that's what they're doing. And so it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. It's one of the many reasons that I think we're having a lot of volatility in crypto right now. I think that large institutions want some type of certainty. They want some type of legislation. They want rules based. So far crypto's essentially been the wild, wild west, right? Wild, wild west. But once there's some rules, what you can do, what you can't do, then, people, big institutions that have liabilities, they feel better about getting into stuff. And so, yeah, it's interesting, but not one that really tickles my fancy too much. Let's look at this. Cosmos. I do like Cosmos. I like Aptos. We're going to get into that here in a little bit. Let's look. Cosmos advances Japan's largest regulated tokenizing platform. Wow, that's pretty interesting. Enhancing settlement and liquidity for over 200 banks. Let's take a look at this, look at the allocation and everything. I like how this is all added over on CoinMarketCap now, how they have all of that. So what is Cosmos? In a nutshell, Cosmos bills itself as a project that solves some of the hardest problems facing the blockchain industry. It offers antidote to slow, expensive, unscalable, and environmentally harmful proof of work like those. Oh gosh, give me a break. It's one thing to say that, that, hey, proof of work's expensive, stuff like that. But come on, man, don't give me this. Oh, we're the greenest coin in the world. This is why we're doing it, because it's green. When you hop on a private jet and go somewhere, like, come on, get out of here. It just makes me not even. But who knows who wrote that, right? So I don't want to give that too much. But I do think the blockchain has promise, as merit. This coin. Oh, take me back. Take me back. Oh, guys. Oh, man. Take me back. Take me back. I showed yesterday on stream. Let's go look at it. I showed yesterday. Take me back. What would life have been like? Look, if this never happened.
You know, I'm a big crypto person.
Let's see. Let me turn this down. Let me make sure the volume's up for you guys. President Trump.
Other than, you know, I'm a big crypto person. I'm the one that probably helped crypto more than anybody because I believe in it. And the reason I believe in it is because if we don't do it, Scott, I think we can say then China's going to do it. Right? Other than,
you know, that was another one. We were extremely happy about that. We are extremely, you know, happy. But check this out. We're going to get to Aiden Ross, of all people, who, like, called it right. This was talking about, this is when Trump coin launched.
Do you think that Solana is peaking because of Trump coins, etc.?
It's something
it hasn't even started.
Yeah, it's something that you have to like.
What do you mean it has started? The biggest Solana coin just dropped, and that's what made it go to $300.
Exactly.
It just started this month.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, not a fan of that coin. You know, I think it just absolutely took so much liquidity out of crypto. You know, I seen them talking about and posting how much money the family made, you know, and I'm somebody that supported them, you know, and still, like, you know, I think overall it's probably going to be a positive for crypto. Like, we're getting legislation. We have a crypto pro SEC, things like that. But, oh gosh, like, there's just so much, you know, that's what I hate about these. That's why I like to stand up to, you know, bad people that rug coins and stuff. You follow me on X, you see that actually Empress and I have, you know, been defending people, is because every time those people, not only is it like wrong, right, but this is an industry that I deeply care about. Like, I'm not just a short timer here. I'm not somebody that, you know, is just here to, you know, trade a little bit and have a little fun, maybe buy me a new watch, something like that. No, like this is my life. I love this industry. And I truly believe that this industry can be world changing. And when you see just people take liquidity out of it and you just know deep down that's never coming back, it's painful. It hurts. It does. And it frustrates me a lot. Coming over here looking at Aptos. I like Aptos, I will say. I know a lot of people might not know what it is. The chart looks honestly horrific. Let's do a measure on this. And let's see how much inflation it's had by looking at market cap. Yeah, so, I mean, that's a good example, right? So I showed this yesterday with Solana, but Aptos is the same thing. Like, if we go here, you could see the price launched. It was $9 here. If we look right here, it was $3, but now it's $1.20. But if you go to market cap, the market cap's higher than it was back here, right? So what does that tell us? That tells us that there's been a lot of inflation over time, right? So you always have to take that into consideration, but I do like Aptos. The only question is, like, how many of these do we need? You know, like I was saying yesterday, how many layer 1 blockchains do we need? Do we really need like 32 layer 1 blockchains? I think we probably don't, guys. I'm going to bring this back over here and show this. So I'd move this stop loss up. Yeah. So maybe, you know, we want to watch this level pretty closely for BTC. Anybody that is a trader. Oh, I'm sorry. Y'all can't see that. My apologies. My BTC, you know, hopefully we get a relief rally here. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe we do. Let's come over here, look back at liquidity. I personally use, like I was saying earlier, our channel sponsor, Blofin. There's links all over the place if you want. Never financial advice. Boy, I'm good with those disclaimers. But, you know, just how many layer 1s do we need, really? You know, like, I understand that maybe there's not a one size fit all with layer 1s. Maybe we do need certain ones with different specialties, right? But how many do we really need? And I would like to see us concentrate. Like, if I look at my wallet, I've got a Visa card, I've got a MasterCard. I don't have American Express, but it exists, right? And there may be a couple more around the world that facilitate, you know, finances. But there's not 30 of them, you know? And maybe there used to be, but the market, you know, condensed. The market's good at that. But like I said, we're in this valuation problem. Gate, like I said, man, I mean, I have nothing against the exchange, probably a good exchange, but overall, it's just not something that, I'm into. But now here we're getting to Kaspa, guys, and I'm ready because I'm excited and I love Kaspa because I've done my research and I know it's the best proof of work layer 1 crypto that there is. I know it's better than Bitcoin technically. Guys, I know it is. I just know. I know. Now, that doesn't mean what the price does. And I went over this. I actually had a video release earlier today right here on what was next. It's cooking pretty good, actually. But yeah, it's what did you say? Kaspa. So on like Blofin has futures and stuff, Spot, Kraken. We're look at all the exchanges that they have listed, and that's no problem at all. So, guys, if anyone doesn't know what Kaspa is, I'm more than happy to go through it. It's something that is, I need $1 Kaspa. I'm maroon. You need $1 of Kaspa, or you need Kaspa to hit $1. Well, come on, CCP, let me know. So what Kaspa is, and for anyone that doesn't know, and I've done a ton of research on this, and I have like 80 videos on it, and it's like you can see here, the fastest open source, decentralized, fully scalable layer 1 in the world. And look, this right here is the blocks. And so just think of blocks on a network as that is how often a bus comes. Okay. So a bus comes to pick up people or transactions or any kind of data that's transmitted on a blockchain. So when you look at BTC, for instance, Bitcoin is 1 block every 10 minutes. That's why when you see those videos of people going to pay for coffee with their iPhone and it says it's Bitcoin and it goes through, what that really is, it's layer 2 scaling solution Lightning. And then they kind of, from my understanding, batch it up, and then they every 10 minutes they bundle all those transactions and do it. Kaspa was launched at 1 block per second. Okay, that's what it was launched at, which is a lot faster than BTC. Mind you, this is proof of work also. It's not proof of stake. So there's actually computing power behind it, securing the network, okay? You call that a hash rate in proof of work networks. Well, Kaspa's Crescendo update brought it to 10 blocks per second. So imagine with BTC, and I love BTC. I just don't believe, it's what people are trying to make it to be. In my opinion, BTC should be like a store of value, right? Obviously, the market does not perceive it like that yet, because if they had, then it would have been going up when gold was going up, but we've been going down, 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 as you can see. But, just think of this as a bus with a whole bunch of people hopping on. Okay. And so once every 10 minutes, the bus comes and all the transactions around the world that need processed, they go through them. Right. So if you try to send BTC from one wallet to another, it'll at the earliest 10 minutes to get through. We've got 10 buses coming every second with Kaspa. Okay. So just imagine this kind of throughput. And there's a lot of strength when you look at proof of work from a security standpoint. Like I said, Elon Musk recently said that the only true currency is energy. Okay. Like that is true currency. That's, you see, if any of the AI data centers could have one thing right now, it's not more money. It's not more, no, it's more energy. Okay. So when you actually have energy, computing power, backing up a network, then, that says a lot. So if we look right here, technically speaking, Kaspa is a proof of work cryptocurrency, implements the GoStag protocol. Unlike traditional blockchains, GoStag does not orphan blocks created in parallel, but rather allows them to coexist. And what is very funny is Jonathan Sompolinsky, the founder of Kaspa, who is mentioned in the Ethereum white paper, he's been mentioned by Vitalik Buterin, the founder of Ethereum, right? The creator, or whatever you want to call it, of Ethereum. But whenever this came out yesterday, there was a lot of Kaspa people saying, well, hey, that's exactly what Bitcoin or what Kaspa does right here, and there's a lot of people like, here's Gonzo right here. This has already been fixed, Vitalik. And we know, because your lunch dates with Jonathan Sompolinsky, the founder behind Kaspa. Study Kaspa. Like, look at this. You know, you're going to be hard pressed to find a better community than Kaspa. If you just look at overall like community sentiment, and I don't know if we can where that would be on here, but if you just look at like overall community sentiment, like Kaspa's extremely bullish, 89%. I like this guy Scape. He makes good X post and stuff like that. But you know, Kaspa has had a very fast emission schedule. And so if you look at that, if you look right here, you know, BTC, every time a block is mined, there's like 3.125 Bitcoin that get given, right? Well, Kaspa is on a very accelerated path of doing that. And so within just the life of Kas, which started in, you know, mid 2022, already 96% of that's going out. Now, I'm not going to act like there's no risk involved, because the problem with that, and the same problem BTC is going to face, is that how do you pay for hash rate? How do you incentivize people to keep their computers on, keep these big energy computers on to secure the network, right? That's why you've seen so many proof of stake chains come out. And the only way you can do it when there's no tokens coming out is going to be by fees. But Kaspa's about to have something called VPROGs come out, which is their equivalent of smart contracts, but a lot more flexible. And they're going to allow basically all this to be done through these VPROGs on the native L1. Okay, so this eliminates the issue that Bitcoin has with Lightning Network. And, you know, Bitcoin's emission schedule is a lot longer, and as long as the price stays high, there's no problem. But what happens when that does run out? You know, is Bitcoin layer 1 network able to have enough fees to keep the network secure, keep the miners turned on? You know, if you think about it, if it currently costs about 60, 70 to mine a Bitcoin, 70K to mine a Bitcoin, they would have to be generating that much fees just to break even. And that's at today's, you know, day and age. And so I made a video, go check it out. Totally recommend it, of me doing some analysis on where I think we could put with Kaspa's is just one that I love. You know, I break it down here in the video. Like I said, go check it out. You like it. And a lot of people don't know of Kaspa. You know, it hasn't been listed on Binance. They did list it futures, and that's pretty much when the price started going down. You know, there's a lot of conspiracies around, you know, why that is or what that is. But if you're looking for like spot, so I see this question right here. Here you can see where Bybit, BitGet, Gate, Qcoin, Mexi, HTX, Kraken, and then also I'm a big believer in cold storage wallets, and I don't have my wallet on me, but here's one. I literally have like 10 of them. But this is a Tangem wallet, and it's a cold storage wallet. It'll come in a pack of 2 or 3, and they're identical, so it's basically backups, but it's a cold storage wallet. And on the app, on the phone, you can actually swap for a whole bunch of assets, and one of them is Kas. If you're interested in getting a cold storage wallet, code Freeman will save you a little bit. Not a sponsor or anything, just a traditional affiliate. That's also one thing. Any sponsors I always disclose and all that stuff. I'm by the book. You can trust me that when I'm doing something, I'm doing it by the book, guys. You know, who is faster than Kas? Nobody. Yeah, nobody. Is the fastest blockchain in the world, to my knowledge. If there's another blockchain faster, guys, let me know. But when Kas went to 10 blocks per second, that was it. You know, now, it's not the end of the world, or it's not the end goal. Like, just having a whole bunch of blocks doesn't necessarily mean scalability and everything. But Tangem hot wallet. No, Tangem's a cold storage wallet. So there's basically an app on the phone. Okay. But in order to sign the transaction, you have to tap it on your phone. And so someone else could have the app. They couldn't do anything unless they had the physical card. I've used lots of wallets in the past. I've had a lot sent to me, like for reviews and stuff. I've had Tangem send me a lot. I haven't paid for, I paid for my initial ones, but then they've sent me wallets to review and stuff like that. They sent me a Christmas box. I made a funny Christmas video about me getting hacked and about me, you know, doing stuff. So that was cool. I'm sorry, guys. I want to check up on this because this is doing pretty good. So I'm going to move that up a little bit into slight profit. Currently 11% profit right there. But yeah, I'm in stream, so I'm locked in. Just keep an eye on that though. But BTC going up is good for everyone, guys. And like I said, if you're interested in Blofin, check them out below. What other good wallet than Tangent? Ledger's really good. I like Ledger. It's not open source to my knowledge. And so some people get stuck up on that. I've heard a really good thing about Trezor. Trezor. We can go look that up right here. What I've heard about it is it's like the most secure wallet that you can find. And I'd love to do a review if they want to send me one. That it's the most secure wallet. I believe it's open source, but that it's not super user friendly. So you just kind of have to, decide, like, this is super user friendly. What do you want in Trezor 3? Yeah, I've never looked into it. Like, let's look. Trezor Safe 3. Yeah, I don't really know what the difference is. I'm assuming size, like how much it can hold. It's a pretty good price though. Easy, simple, secure. Yeah, like, I mean, this is something like, because it's so, like, it's known to be like the most secure. Like, if I was like, hey, I'm hodling BTC forever, right? I'd probably want to drop it on one of these bad boys. But overall, I've had absolutely no problems with Tangent. Love them. Great customer support. Just can't say anything better about them. But yeah, Kaspa is one I'm a big fan of, right? And it had a lot of hype going last cycle. I've been a little, how do you say it? I've made about 80 Kaspa videos. If we look on my channel, and I made 2 like criticizing some things like, hey, we need marketing. We need this, because one of my criticisms is like that we try to be too like more decentralized than Bitcoin. But whenever I make that, oh my gosh, people act like it's the end of the world. But at the end of the day, I'm a Kaspa holder. I love Kaspa, and I make multiple videos a week about it. And so if Kaspa is something you like, make sure you subscribe. Would absolutely love to have you. And so Kaspa is definitely one of my favorites. No good than Ledger Leak. Yeah, I've heard some stuff like that. Yeah. People say Tangent. Yeah, I absolutely love Tangent. Like I said, you can get 10% off using Freeman at checkout. Render for sure, yeah, and we're going to talk about AI and stuff. Or we'll see if Render's still in the top 100. What's the bottom? Who knows? But I'll tell you a little bit later what we went over yesterday in the stream. I just don't want to repeat just this second, but we will go over that in just a little bit. So then coming over here to Flare, I actually know a lot of people that like this. You see, it's a lot of ties with XRP. I'm not too super knowledgeable about it. I don't like the chart. I can tell you that. If we come over here, perfect example, guys. Look at this. This chart, price chart's going down, market cap going up. That tells you the inflation that there's been. A max supply. There is no max supply. It's like the US dollar. Oh man, come on. Come on. Who doesn't like inflation, baby? I was cooking recently. I went and bought some beef ribs. And I was watching a video that was 2 years old from Meat Church, really good YouTuber on barbecuing and stuff. And he was like, man, this is like the best deal. This is $7 from Costco. And I looked at what my wife bought, and it was like $38. And so just in like 2 years, the price did a 5x. Like, is that supply and demand, or is that inflation? I don't know. It's kind of don't know. Pump fun. Look, man, I think Pump Fund did a lot for Solana. I think the entire meme coin sector, really did a lot for Solana, brought a whole bunch of volume. Like we showed that Aiden Ross clip earlier of him saying, oh, Trump coin's what made it go to 300. Yeah. But this is the valuation problem, right? Is there any tie between Pump Fund and the people that actually own Pump.Fund, the website? Like if that website sells, gets acquired, what does that do to the token? Like, does it do absolutely anything? It's like, it's a why. Like, it's just another meme coin, essentially. Like, it's absolutely all it is. Like, just another meme coin when we kind of take a look at it. And so, yeah, just whatever. So, not something I'm into, but we're getting into some interesting ones right here. Like the next 6 or 7, you know, I see you say ISO coins. You're talking about ISO 20022 tokens, which is basically global payment standard. So yeah, we're going to get into it. So Midnight. This is one that came out recently with the folks behind Cardano, Charles Hutchison, great mind in crypto. And so you really can't look at this. I don't know what it was, but it had something to do with an exchange or something like that. But, you know, this is supposed to help, you know, contribute to Cardano adoption. It's a very heavy privacy back chain. When we take a look, oh my gosh, 92.27% of the holders are in the top 10. You know, I don't know. I'd have to look into it more to see, you know, what it is and what it is exactly. But yeah, who knows, man? Who knows? But it's definitely privacy. And this one kind of got me a little hesitant on like this whole privacy meta, and I'll tell you why. Because, you know, we've seen like Zcash pop off all of a sudden. And then, you know, XMR has been around a long time. Zcash been around a long time too. But it like popped off all of a sudden, right? And then all of a sudden these privacy blockchains popped up. And, you know, I don't think you can really build these overnight. And so it was like, what kind of stuff behind the scenes was going on that people decided they were going to like push this privacy meta, right? This is all just me, you know, spitballing thinking, but it's like, what's the odds that like Zcash popped up at the same time that like Cardano was planning this, you know, privacy blockchain? But you can see Charles Hodgkinson, funny guy, super funny. I don't even think he tries to be funny. He's just funny. The co-founder of Ethereum and founder of Cardano, right? So he's definitely that dude, like, and I'll show y'all what he looks like if you're not familiar with him. But he's a funny guy. He does a lot of live streams and stuff as well. But see if I can find him. Yeah, this guy right here. Got a lobster up here, you know. He always has a lobster. Yeah, I mean, he live streams a lot, which is good for the community, right? Very good for the community. Rather stick to quant, man. I mean, I like quant. If you go look at some of my early videos, there was a lot of quant videos. Gilbert Verdian is one of the smartest people in probably the world. So we're going to get into that. So quant right here. Perfect. Look, we're just in time for you, Manny-KAF2EV. Rather stick to quant. Okay. So quant is a ISO 20022 token. There's only about 6 of them that meet the global payment standard. So you have XRP, you have quant. I forget some of them, but anyways, the ISO 20022 narrative is basically the thought of, you know, global payment system. And it has a lot to do with like CBDCs, central bank digital currencies and stuff, but they're working with some big time people. Okay, if you take a look at QNT, like, look at this. Quant Network powers Lloyd's Bank digital framework, enhancing blockchain infrastructure to integrate central bank digital currency. See CBDCs. That's what I was talking about just a second ago. If we look, you see top 10 holds 29%. It's a lot better. See where they're available. But this is a fixed supply of 14.88 million. So it's less supply than even BTC, right? So when you're just kind of putting that in your head, and then it's like 80% gone already, 81%. So there's not going to be a lot. Let me know, how long have you been into QNT? I would like to know. It's had some good runs over the years. And again, as always, we're going to go to market cap to see if there's been a lot of inflation. And as you can see, not really. But you're kind of just forming like this big, like, you know, you always want to try to get as much touch points as possible when doing anything. So like, even if you have to run through the top of these candles, like it would be better to do that to get more touch points, you know, or even something like this potentially, you know, like you got that wick, fake out, but you got a lot of touch points, right? At least that's how I do my technical analysis. But when we come over here and look at quant, you can see the infrastructure of money. And so that's what they're built on. I'll try to find Gilbert Verdian. He has a great track record. I believe he worked for MasterCard. Maybe it was Visa, but he's got an institutional banking background. And so you can see who their clientele is, right? Corporates, banks, and capital markets. And so I kind of want to find him because he's an interesting looking interesting fella right here, Gilbert Verdian. So this is like a legit thing, right? But it's when I look at it, I'm thinking it's kind of next cycle-ish, whenever we think about it, because we're working on all this legislation right now coming through. And so I thought that we were, this cycle would be it. But you know how, man, they've been building the road in my town for 3 years. You know what I mean? Half time nobody's working on it. So why do we expect legislation across the world to go quickly, right? But no doubt in my mind that blockchain is going to change the world and that everything is going to be tokenized. But man, I at one point I'd bought QNT over $100. Like, I bought it very early, I'm not this early, not like 17, but when I bought it up there. And actually currently I don't hold any, man. So thank you for bringing this to my attention, because it's not one that I've covered lately, and I've kind of not written off by no means, but like I just said, like I kind of think like a next cycle thing, right? And yeah, 2030, exactly. That's kind of like my take, right? Like, this is like a long-term thing, and so 7-8 years ago I really didn't have long-term money to be waiting forever, but QNT, man, it's one I absolutely like, right, guys? Just remember, if you're just coming into the stream, just a reminder that I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing I say is financial advice, just a dude on YouTube, but you could definitely check out the sponsors and everything. And if you're interested in our Discord, where I post a lot of stuff, this is that long that I took and everything, there should be a WAP link somewhere you can probably find. But would absolutely love to have you. We got a good tight community there. But let's keep going, guys. We got a lot to go through. We're already an hour in. Thank you all, man. We're have a good turnout today. I absolutely love to see it. I love everyone in the Finance Freeman family. So happy to have y'all here. You have to have the mindset, not many. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, have you traded a meme coin ever? Like, people can't hold for 2 minutes, let alone 2 days, let alone 2 years, let alone 20 years, right? But yeah, let me give some shout out to right here, Francis, right here. Francis Ngannou. Is that you? Is that really you, Francis? No, very good UFC fighter. So, but Render, Render is artificial intelligence, and there's a handful of AI coins that I really like, and I like to compare AI coins to the .com bubble. And I mentioned this a little bit earlier, that right now, even if you look in the stock market, like anything that has AI tied to it is like a super crazy valuation, right? And so a lot of them are like vaporware. Like, the only thing Web3 about it is simply that there's a token associated with it, right? But Render is cool. Render Network is the leading provider of decentralized GPU-based rendering solutions, revolutionizing the digital creation process. The network connects node operators looking to monetize their idle GPU compute power with artists looking to scale intense 3D rendering. And what's cool about this, and I also like another one that we'll get into, is that there's a ton of need for compute power. Like, that's why you see Nvidia at all-time highs in the stock market. I mean, it's been pulling back a little bit, but been on a crazy run, right? There's a ton of need for computing power. And so what if I had a couple computers in my house that were just sitting around kind of doing nothing, and I could rent them out, or that, institutions could do the same, anything like that. It's an interesting thesis. It's an interesting idea. And the one we're going to get into, it's a marketplace called Akash. I like that a lot, actually. But yeah, Render is one that I do like. We can take a look at the chart real quick. Yeah, you could see this was in the peak of the AI hype over here. And so down massively, right? let's see, about 90%, but it started out at like 13 cents, right? So obviously there's been a lot of profit taken, but what I do like to see is I like to see this, and I like to see a huge retrace, and I like to see this, and I like to see a huge retrace. And what I mean by that is it shows that it's not just a one pump chump, right? Like it's something that actually has merit behind it. And so, yeah, Render is definitely, I'm not currently holding it, but it's definitely one that is, on my watch list this, over the next, few times. Filecoin's also one that had a huge run up. This is more with like cloud based technology. If we take a look at it, let's see down here. Yeah, decentralized storage system. Man, I've got more like know more about these cryptos in my brain than I probably should, these random ones. But yeah, this is a cool one, right? The project was first described back in 2014 as an incentive layer for IPFS. Okay. That is, we could get into it, but like IPFS is how like ordinals are subscribed on the blockchain. I mean, it's a lot deeper than that. I'm not nearly knowledgeable enough to give you a lesson on it, but yeah, basically it's computing power. United Stables, like, why do we need it? Like, why would anybody in their right mind trust a stable coin that was launched at the end of last year? What is it? Can Rivers pump? So this is Rivers stable coin. Like, I seen River, but yeah, just a stable coin. Arbitrum, it's going to be right there on the same list as other layer twos, even before, what Arbitrum really had going for it was Hyperliquid. And still, if someone goes to use Hyperliquid, it's like USDC Arbitrum. But now, Hype has its own layer one, and the same way that Aster's wanting to do that. And if you see the tweet from Vitalik that I shared earlier, he's kind of saying that, that they need to change their ways, that these layer twos, what they're doing currently is not, the need. What would I do if I was a layer two today? He's talking about completely changing. You can't just be a scaling solution for layer two or for layer one anymore. It's not enough anymore. And so we'll see where those go. But right now, I am not really interested in any layer two on Ethereum tokens. Okay. The ecosystems, yes, like Base ecosystem, I really like. Base does not have a token. It just uses Base ETH essentially. B Chain, I like it. I like the idea behind it. They sponsor the UFC, so I like that. But again, how many of these do we need? Like, how many of these like random projects do we need if we're being honest? Sonny Liu, I've seen interviews with him, very knowledgeable guy, but the blockchain was launched in June 2016 as a private consortium chain with support from Bitsy, a Chinese blockchain as a service company. I mean, let me know if you're into VeChain. I have a friend that was really into VeChain. I don't know if he's crying now or what. XDC network. Let's do a little bit of research on this one. This isn't one that I'm too familiar with. Weird. My antivirus flagged that suspicious content, which I do have like a really secure one, but yeah, so we're just gonna pass on that. But if we come down here, the XDC is a blockchain developed to support trade finance and tokenizing of real world assets. I mean, I just think there's better options, right? Like Canton's done very well. If we look, I need to do a lot more research on that. I'm actually going to be making a dedicated video about Canton soon. But overall, like, I don't think it's something we necessarily need. Jupiter is cool for Jupiter, but like I said, I'm not really into exchange tokens or anything like that anymore. Bonk, old news. Sorry, Bonk guy. Old news. I will get into what my favorite meme is right now, though. But say a lot of people like it. A lot of people like it. It's kind of compared to like Sui and those. It's made by some very smart guys. I forget what team this one's from. Not the Facebook team. That's Sui, right? But again, how many layer one blockchains do we need, right? You know, says a blockchain designed for fast, cheap financial transactions combined. You know, it's just like, you know, yeah, just, you know, yeah, let's do it. You know, we don't need layer 0. This is one that I traded very early on. And, you know, you've got to decide what you are, right? Are you a trader? Are you an investor? If you're just a trader, then it really doesn't matter what the underlying asset is, right? You're just looking at charts. But if you're somebody that likes the tech, and I'm a little bit of both, right? I trade, I like the tech, I like everything about crypto, really. And so, you know, I have a lot of interest in all these different things, but let's see the live layer one. So there's really nothing on it. Yeah. Let me know if you know about this one, but we're going to get into them. Stacks Dash is one that did hot lately with the privacy meta, but I think it was just kind of riding the coattails of all the other ones. You know, the only interesting one that I see over here is IP. Story IP was doing some interesting stuff. And as you can see, it had a huge pump right here, 500%, you know, but now it's down lower than it was previously. Let's see, but I do like it. Cryptos Are Us. I actually have an interview. I interviewed George on my channel. Very good guy, very good man, I'll say. And one thing I do want to highlight, George, while we're here, is let's go to George Plays Clash. So I want to highlight this because George made this on Pump Fun, okay, called Clash. He now has, okay, this is Cryptos R Us George, okay. So this coin, he made it, and like I said, I've interviewed him. He's since made Clash Picks, which is like a prediction market for it, right? And if you take a look, this chart is like absolutely amazing. And he has never had any acknowledgement from Pump.fun, like none at all. And it's just amazing to me that they wouldn't use like a large YouTuber that has a legit community built. Like he plays this game, and I'm not into this game necessarily, but he plays it, live streams it, and a lot of people around the world are. But Pump Fun hasn't acknowledged him at all. Like I would have signed him to a deal, tried to make him a poster child of it, you know, but absolutely crazy. Shout out to George from Cryptos R Us. I have an interview with him on my channel. He's a really great guy. Pudgy Penguins, my favorite meme coin, and one that I am not going to write off, with Luca Nitz as the founder. If you like community coins, Pudgy Penguins has an entire ecosystem built out. They've got one of the largest NFT collections. They've got a founder that has a ton of experience. Abstract chain, whenever the coin comes out, it's going to be extremely popular. There's no doubt about it that this is definitely my favorite meme coin. If we come over here, look right there, front and center, Pudgy Penguins, like all the mind share that this has, you know, even in today's market, these things are very expensive, like $9K for a JPEG, you know, but I absolutely love Pudgy Penguins and the Pingu ecosystem. And so that's my #1 meme coin, like out of all of them. And so Chili's, shout out to my dude Chili Pepper. I don't know if he knows this at all. I actually talked to him earlier. He's a guy that I met, young guy from Base Chain. I met him at On-Chain Summit. He's going to be helping me out, doing some clips and helping me out with some of that. What is Chili's? It's a native token of Chili Chains, the restaurant where Baby Back Rib. No, I'm just joking. Is that Baby Back Rib? Is that Chili's or is that Applebee's? What is that? I don't remember. Chili's is a native token of Chili's Chain, the layer 1 blockchain for sports and entertainment. It also powers the Socius wallet, the leading fan and gay. I mean, kind of a cool idea, I guess. I haven't heard of that before, you know, like a sports thing, but what exactly are they doing? Let's try to look. DeFi model. DeFi model tokenizes football club revenue on Chili's, huh? DeFi model integration. The decentralized protocol has pioneered a unique DeFi model, tokenizing football club revenues. You know, I'm in the US, guys. Football is the NFL. My wife's from Russia though, so they like football. But let me know. Stablecoin, stable, Europe, stablecoin, optimism. Again, it's layer 2 scaling solution for Ethereum. Base chain is built using the OP stack. So it's actually built with optimism in a way. And so I'm sure it gets some kind of revenue from that. But like I was sharing just a second ago, with what Vitalik shared, it really puts in question a lot of layer 2s, you know, so I'm just kind of avoiding them. Virtuals protocol is a very interesting one. Okay. It's very, very interesting. If we look at Ethereum, Solana, and Base, so it's not just Base, right? Available pretty much everywhere, but this is artificial intelligence in a box, right? A lot of coins were being launched on virtuals, and one of my favorite AI coins, actually like a super small market cap, Beats on Base. Whenever virtuals was coming out, you know, everyone was launching AI agents or whatever on here. And he, the dev Arlo, made that project from scratch, like Beats on Base. That's why I like it so much. And just from absolutely nothing. And so the thing with virtuals is that, you know, if you build something on it, you're kind of confined to the box that they give you, right? The features that they have versus Beats on Base, he's able to do whatever. So shout out to Arlo. I've actually met him in person at On-Chain Summit. So this is actually one that I'm definitely going to keep my eye on. Currently do not have any virtuals, but it is one that I like. So here's another one. Artificial super intelligence. So this was a merger, and it's the first time I ever remember seeing this in crypto. That you had Fetch AI, Singularity, and Kudos, which I don't remember it being called Kudos at the time, have collaborated, and they kind of like combined. So it was like a merger in the stock market. But for this is another AI one. Okay, and let's go see what they talk that they do different than, you know, Render, for instance. So the Artificial Superintelligence Alliance, golly, that's a mouthful, is a decentralized AI consortium founded by Fetch AI. Okay, that was the other one, Fetch AI, and Singularity Net. In a subsequent expansion, welcome Kudos as a network member. So I guess that came after. As the largest open source independent entity in AGI research and infrastructure, ASI is dedicated to the creation of vertically integrated technology. You know, it's interesting. This AGI, you know, with these AI agents, like autonomous economic agent, this is interesting. Maybe this is one I should put back on my watch list because, you know, we've recently seen this big hype, you know, with this claw thing that came out. If we come look, open claw, these AI agents that are being built, everybody was going to get these Apple minis and they were building AI agents on them. And, you know, I'm a little hesitant of all this. I think that, you know, we've never had like something whoopsie, like a big whoopsie happen with AI agents. And so I'm a big fan of bringing that on chain. I think that artificial intelligence needs to be on chain. I think it needs to be transparent. Everyone will be able to see everything on chain, and you could put it in a way that it could not be changed to be malicious. You know, you would be able to look over it better. So I would really like to see AI all come on chain. It's not where we currently sit today, right? But this is definitely one I'm going to put back on my watch list. I'll say that. I'm definitely going to put it back on my watch list. If we look at this, it's had almost like a 4 retrace, if not a 4 retrace. Yeah, like over a 4 retrace pretty much. Let's look at how much inflation it's had. Not a lot. You know, like I was saying earlier, if we would see inflation, that market cap would be high and the two charts would kind of look opposite because that shows that there's more money in the ecosystem now. However, the price is down. So it doesn't look like there's been a ton of inflation. Curve down. Nope. Lighter. It's an interesting one. This is new. It's fairly new. This is one that I definitely have my eye on. I have not had any of it. I did trade it a little early on futures, but it's interesting. And this kind of drop doesn't really scare me too much. You know, it's a new launch. It probably had early investors, all kinds of stuff like that. I need to look more into this. The top 10 holding 81%. But Lighter is a decentralized trading platform built for unmatched security and scale. It's the first exchange to offer verifiable order matching and liquidations while delivering best-in-class performance. You know, verified liquidations is a very interesting concept because there's no denying that something is wrong in crypto. And I don't mean that something's inherently wrong with Bitcoin, with cryptographic technology. What I'm talking about is on October 10th, something happened. Like something bad happened. If we go look, like, let's come over here and take a look at, let's just go look at, see how low BTC got that day. Like, you know, October 10th, there's been a lot of talk about a stable coin depegging. And we all know that. Let me see, October 10th. So, yeah, if we look at this wick right here, remember, from that day, it went from 122 and BTC hit 100, okay? But if you go look at, like, alts, it was absolutely crazy. Like, I remember I was going to pick up some medicine for my son. He was sick. And I remember getting a notification on my phone that Ondo had dropped, like, I don't know, 10%. I was like, huh, that's weird. I wonder why. I looked at BTC, it was down. I was like, huh, that's weird. And then I looked and it said it dropped 25%. Then I looked and it was at 50 cents and I tried to place an order and it like wouldn't go through. I tried to bridge like something from like, I don't remember if it was like base to ETH or what. And unfortunately, I didn't have like an account like funded where I could have just bought. But look at this, like something fundamentally happened, right? And there's been a lot of stories about what it was. That like Binance had something depeg, and a lot of people's been blaming CZ, and obviously he'll always get the blame. But you know, if we just come look at like all the CZ FUD recently, let's just look at CZ Binance right here. You know, but what I mean by something's wrong is that, you know, obviously there's a lot of leverage out of the system now. People got liquidated. But, you know, I think it's deeper. I think that there has been, you know, a lot of things go out of business that we haven't heard about or that are maybe trying to hang on, you know, and this is all just speculation, right? But, you know, is it market makers? What's going on right now? What's going on? It's very volatile. I decided to close my Binance account. I'm so fed up with manipulation promoted by CZ. I don't know if this is LARP or what. XBNB chain. Like, if this is legit, this is crazy. Oh, this dude follows me. Shout out to you, bro. He only follows 184 people and he follows Freeman. So if this guy who only follows 184 people and's got 863,000 following him, well, then you should be following Freeman too, because we post some alpha. But it's a pretty crazy thing, right? Like, you know, and I don't know if that's just LARP or what, but, you know, this guy's defending, you know, and CZ recently made it where only people that follows them can be, you know, responded to. But something happened. Something happened that day that I think, you know, kind of structurally hurt cryptocurrency. And I think we're gonna rebound. You know, let's listen to this. This is Kathy Woods.
Please educate me. Yeah,
a CEO of ARK.
You've heard of the flash crash, 1010. Okay, so
please educate me. Yeah.
Yeah. This, I think, it's very few people know this, but because there have been so many other things to worry about. But on October 10th, there was the flash crash caused by a software glitch at Binance. And there was an auto deleveraging event. People were just, you know, margin called to the tune of about $28 billion. We know some of the entities that were caught up in that. They were caught flat-footed. And we think that is just now washing through the system. So if you're looking for something that has weighed on it recently, we do think that happened. You've heard of the flash crash?
A software glitch? No, man, that was more than that. Let's look. I seen something about a good post earlier about stable coins. I should have bookmarked it. It probably won't be under that. Let's see if we can find it. Look, talking about CZ dropping $2 billion into Trump's stablecoin. CZ unfollowed Tully on Solana for reposting an OKX founder tweet. Yeah, so this, okay, Star. Okay, yeah, that's actually a good female in crypto. I like to see females in crypto. I look up to a lot of them. Empress, my friend, Crypto Wendy, a lot of really good. We need more in crypto. But they posted this. She posted this about what happened. And I want to see if, yeah, okay, let's go over this. This is good. Okay, right here. No complexity, no accident. 1010 was caused by irresponsible marketing campaign. So basically, there was a lot of promotion going on. So, and this is all alleged, so don't sue me, bro. But I'm just reading what's on public. So, Binance launched a temporary user acquisition campaign offering 12% APY on USDE, while allowing USDE to be used as collateral with the same treatment as USDT, the #1 stablecoin, and USDC, the #2 stablecoin backed by Circle, without effective limits. USDE is a tokenized hedge fund project. Athena, that's what we went over earlier, raises capital, and I will say Athena got the raises capital via so-called stablecoin, deploys it into index arbitrage. So basically, Binance users were encouraged to convert USDT and USDC. Let me zoom this in for y'all. Where was it? I missed it. USDC is tokenized hedge fund product, fundamentally different. They were encouraged to convert Tether and Circle into USDE to earn attractive yields without sufficient emphasis on the underlying risk. From a user's perspective, trading with USDE appeared no different from trading with traditional stablecoins, while the actual risk profile was a lot higher. Risk escalated further. So people converted into this new stablecoin, or this other stablecoin that was being promoted, allegedly. That was used as collateral to borrow Tether, converted the borrowed Tether back to USDE, and repeated the cycle. This leverage loop produced artificial APYs of 24, 36. Okay, so they were taking it and loaning that to get USDT, then doing it again to like get 12% times 2 or 3. That's pretty crazy. And even 70% that people perceived as low risk simply because they were offered by a major platform. Systemic risk accumulated rapidly across the global market. At that point, even a small market shock was sufficient to trigger a collapse. When volatility hit, USDE depegged quickly. Cascading liquidations followed. Let's go look at USD. Like, dude, someone's got to answer to this. Like, I mean, seriously, is this just gonna like go under the like nothing ever happened? Like, let's look. Was that 1010? It's 10.6. I don't know. I feel like I've seen worse. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, you know, but this is a reputable, like, I mean, obviously, I don't know her, but, you know, this is like the founder of OKX, right? Obviously, they're competitors, but, you know, if there wasn't proof behind this, I doubt she would be saying that. I don't like to debate. This is a retweet to that original post that was on January 30th. So it's the following day. I don't like to debate because you can never wake someone who is pretending to sleep. That said, clarifying the facts matter. For the record, BTC began declining roughly 30 minutes before the USDE depeg. This exactly supports the earlier point. The initial move was market shock. Absent the USDE leverage loop, the market would likely have stabilized at that point. The cascading liquidations were not inevitable. They were amplified by structural leverage, as explained recently. Dragonfly has never been an investor in OK. So let's read this. So this was CZ's response to her original post, or to this post talking about that. Dragonfly is one of the largest investors in OKX. Data speaks. Time doesn't match. Good to see people understanding facts. I will try not to comment on this topic further. Let others talk about us and we focus on work. But I thought CZ wasn't supposed to work on Binance. So what work you doing, buddy? I don't know. Maybe he's focused. Maybe he's allowed to work on Aster or something. But I think it all had to do with his deal. But I guess he was pardoned, so maybe he's able to do whatever. But she said Dragonfly has never been an investor in OKX, neither minor nor major. In fact, OKX invested in Dragonfly. Joined the firm. Separately, one partner's previous fund invested in OKX. These are distinct and easily verifiable facts. I will not spend time further on this. So the point is, man, or ladies, something happened 10-10, you know, and whatever happened, you know, obviously a lot of traders got wiped out, you know, and that's unfortunate, but more so than that, you know, there's market makers behind the scenes that keep prices stable. And there's a lot of things that go into this, you know, and I just think that we haven't heard of everything yet. You know, it's one of those things that, yeah, I think people may barely be holding on. Maybe they've already gone under, trying to hide. And this is all just what I'm thinking, right? But this isn't normal, you know, like even whenever I made this tweet, where is it? Whenever I made the tweet talking about, you know, oh, there it was. Why'd I do that? Whenever I made the tweet talking about, you know, where I expected BTC to go, and we can go over this. Someone asked that a minute ago. Oh, I still have that render post up. My bad. Where is it? Sorry about that, guys. Still getting used to the live streams. But whenever I made this post, you know, I was thinking maybe we'd bottom around 70, which would have barely been like a, you know, barely wicking under that. But like I said, this is, you know, a trend line that's been going from 2016. And I've been posting this before I've seen anyone else post it on X. Now I'm seeing a lot of people post it on X, but, you know, nobody wants to post it when it's 96K. It's pretty easy to post it when it's 75K, right? But, you know, that we would sweep this last cycle top. We would come to this trend line that's been intact since 1600. It would also match up with the approximate price to mine a Bitcoin and the 200-week SMA, which currently is around 58K. But my thesis was that we would trend sideways longer. So this 200-week moving average would move up a little bit, right? So maybe like where this red line right here, like the 65-ish K range, you know, would go. But everything's escalated a lot more quickly, right, than we could imagine. And so now this is kind of my thesis, right? I could be completely wrong, like I said, but in fact, let's look. Let's see how that trade's doing for me. Doing okay. 5% up. Okay. But you know, where was I? But overall, it's, you know, it moved a lot quicker than I anticipated, you know, than I think anyone anticipated. And I don't think that's just from people like just natural progression. But there is a lot of FUD going on right now. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. You know, if we take a look, like this video came out talking about the files, talking about how people are in the files. It's very interesting if we look at that. And so I don't think there's too much, like I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but, you know, like Adam Back, who's very early, you know, in the Bitcoin development days, was listed in the files. Evidently Epstein had invested in some early Bitcoin scaling things. You know, I don't know. I don't know, but the names are in the files, you know, and so I'd be interesting to see what comes of it. But there's a lot of, you know, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, or a lot of doubt because of that. And so, you know, coming back, I think that we're in a pretty strong area, especially in the top 50. you know, but I really don't think we need a ton of layer ones. I'm thinking we could condense down to 5, 6, 7 layer ones, you know, that would be good. Like these Sun ain't gonna catch me touching that, or Tron, you know. Injective, same thing, right? Like, you know, what it is, you know, the being a scaling solution. It's like, is that, you know, with what Vitalik said, isn't needed anymore. And so that's weird. This immutable one, I know a lot of people like it. I think someone asked about it earlier. Let me see. Yeah, somebody asked about it earlier. We can look at this real quick. But guys, if there's any of them outside of the top 100 that you want to see, I'd love to look at it. Immutable positions itself as first layer 2 scaling solution for NFT. Scaling solution for NFT. Oh boy. Oh man. Could you imagine buying a scaling solution for oh man. Buddy, take me back to 2021. I mean, don't get me wrong. I do like NFTs, but oh yeah, look at that. Launched in end of 2021. Yeah. I mean, there's yeah, I mean, yes. Adios, man. Yeah. You know, but I'm excited for this time. We had somebody in the comments earlier say that, you know, they've been waiting for this since 2021. And I am too, because, you know, my thought process is that I make my money in the bear market, not in the bull market. Like you can trade, you can do all that, right? But like acquiring my assets, right? And this isn't advice, financial advice or anything. That's just what I'm doing. But I look for the discounts, you know, and it's just human psychology. You know, if my wife goes to the store and they've got, you know, an iPhone on sale, or they got, you know, this watch on sale or whatever, you know, you think it's a good deal. Maybe you want to buy it and stuff. But whenever assets go on sale, because you can look at a chart, it's just a totally different thing. And so I wonder why that is with human psychology, that they don't want to buy it. People are scared that it never goes back up. And it's true, it could not. You know, that's risk management. But my conviction into cryptocurrency, and more importantly, blockchain technology, is huge. Is huge. I truly think we're going to change the world, and we're going to make it a better place, a more transparent place, and hopefully a safer place. You know, there's no reason that, you know, my bank is able to lend out fractionalized lending and I don't get any reward from it. You can't even opt into that. You know, it's like just a part of the banking system. That's why they have so much regulation. But someone asked earlier about 99% of these. Yeah, I mean, yeah, a lot of them will. A lot of coins will. And I think that'll be good for crypto overall, because, you know, if we have a pie, like I was saying yesterday, and you only have so much liquidity. And when we look, it's very easy to tell what that liquidity is. It's 2.49 trillion, right? And when you take stable coins out of the mix, if we just look at Tether right here, 185 bill. If we look at Circle right here, 70. So that's a quarter trill right there, quarter trillion. So 2.25 trillion is in crypto. If you take out BTC, that's a 1.5. So you're talking about, you know, 750 billion is in altcoins, and a ton of those altcoins, there's no use case for them, right? So if you've only got a little slither of the pie already and it's divided up against a whole bunch of nonsense, then, you know, it's other assets are potentially undervalued, or some are overvalued, but that there's a lot of fluff. Like I was saying, it's kind of like the .com era, kind of like the AI thing right now. Like, yeah, Nvidia is probably solid. Yeah, Palantir, those are probably solid, but there's a lot of companies that slapped AI on the side of their building, and, you know, they're at crazy valuations. But we're at levels that haven't been seen in a very long time. Fear and Greed, 14. We got lower than this in November. You know, Fear and Greed was like, what, 12? But you can see that it's been a long time. You know, only one time in history have we been this low on a Fear and Greed. Altcoin season shows 34, but that's because it went to 0, wrapped back around to 100, and then went to 34. I'm just joking. But I mean, I don't feel like we're anywhere close to it. But I wonder what this metric is. Does it say what the metric is for it? You know, like one thing I will say is that let's take a look at BTC dominance. Yeah, I mean, BTC dominance kind of look like it recovered right here. You know, one thing I'll say is that a lot of blockchains, since we never did have this, you know, altcoin season that we're all waiting for and stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, we did have a lot of assets run. Like, don't get me wrong, there was a lot that ran. Like, we had a whole AI season like 2 years ago. Memes did crazy and stuff, but it wasn't that thing where you could just blindly throw a dart at something and then check your wallet 2 months later and you know, got a Lambo. You know, and those days are done, I think, in my personal opinion. And so, you know, you got to be selective, and we got to look at the good narratives, and we have to look for real use case. I'm looking at this as companies now, right? Like, what value do they bring? If it's a layer one, how much revenue is on chain? I go to DeFi Llama, look at that kind of thing. How much actual, you know, utility value does it bring, or is it vaporware? And the truth of the matter is, a ton of the stuff is vaporware, and we got to watch out for that. But guys, shout out for coming to the stream. If you want to join the Discord and follow all the trades, be a like-minded community, we would absolutely love to have you there. It's less than a cup of coffee a day. Post all the trades. We got meme. We got all kinds of stuff. We got all kinds of stuff coming up. We just had somebody join earlier. Shout out to our stream sponsor. I'm extremely appreciative of Blofin. Like I said, they are our stream sponsor, and would absolutely love to work with them for a long time. It's been very good. So where I currently place my trades and everything. And then also follow me on X if you don't. We are here Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then obviously you can find it recorded after the fact on YouTube and on X. And then we'll also have clips, 4, 5, 6 clips a day. So you're going to start seeing Freeman absolutely everywhere, guys. But I do this to try to bring you all the highest quality crypto content and no fluff. I try to just say it how it is. And it may be wrong, but it's my truth. It's what I believe is right. So I'm always going to shoot you straight with what my own personal opinion is, guys. But I absolutely appreciate all you for being here. Love you all.